Thank you, everyone. Good evening, and grateful for this platform. I sincerely request all the people at the back to please take a seat. I assure you, this is only going to be 23 minutes, and you're going to love every minute of it, okay? So, some people there having some tea, coffee, you can just sit on your chair and have that. All right, so what do we have today? We have a great heated debate, and we would like the audience to also be an equal part to it, because when we conclude, we do want your inputs as well, okay? So we have minimal intervention versus maximum renovation, okay? And we have renovation rivals versus innovation insiders. And I am highly honored to introduce these teams to you. There was a certain shuffle up between the three teams, and here's what we are going to have for you today. The minimal intervention are called innovation insiders, and as I please announce, I would request each one of you to take the honor. Innovation insiders, we have ADREESH, who's going to discuss effectiveness of minimal intervention. A big round of applause, please. We have AAHANA, who's going to discuss preserving original charm. And RIYAZ, who's going to talk on sustainable and eco-friendly approach. I know we've heard enough of it for the evening, but there's going to be a different approach this time. In the renovation rivals, we have benefits of extensive renovation by AMIT PORWAL. Increased property value because of renovation, that's interesting, spoken by SHAHABADI. And customization and personalization, which Shilpa will touch base on. So, ladies and gentlemen, can we have a big round of applause before the debate starts for all the 6 speakers? And the format of the debate, I'll just explain you. If you can just settle down, people at the back and on the sides. Okay, so here's how we're going to conduct this debate. And we have innovation insiders that's going to talk about their stand on minimal intervention. 2 minutes each per speaker. So we have 6 minutes there and 6 minutes here. And I would like to thank Udit Mittal here, who's going to be my timekeeper, and he is going to put in the buzzer so that all of us are time kept. The conclusion at the end, which is going to end like this, after the 6 minutes of speaking, we're going to take a 3-minute break, and then each team for 2 minutes is going to give their conclusion, after which we have a heated debate. I suggest we have a debate like a debate. We argue, we shout, we fight for a point, and the floor is open for the audience to put in their points as well. No raising of hands. The loudest person wins. Can I hear you?
Yes, yes.
Is that the sound you're going to make your point? Can I hear you?
Yes.
Okay, somebody here is going to win. POOJA, anyway.
POOJA, can we make a request to the organizers to please ensure that these
I
booths
think
there,
so. I've made 2 requests.
they can
so
just
please,
stop
if you
maybe
can.
for a while. Because I believe there's a lot of chaos out there, and
Sushmita, can you just
most of the
take care
seats
of
in the
this?
front are empty, so the rest of them can come just in the front.
Yeah. All right, are we on? Okay, the conclusion is going to be the strongest point that we make, and the organizers have given me the honor to conclude on the point. I'm just joking, but the loudest person wins. All right. So, shall we start your time? And Innovation Insiders, are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready? Yes. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, then bring it on.
Also, the faster we finish this, the faster the drinks will start.
Hello, hello.
23 minutes.
Okay, so before we start, I just want to frame the context of the whole thing. So we are talking about renovation, and renovation in the context of buildings which are worth saving. That is number 1. And number 2 is buildings which are their intent FAR and their existing FAR are more or less similar, and their urban form is more or less similar. Anything beyond that, we really cannot talk about. So once the context is set, we are talking about good architecture. Good architecture in general is something which has a long life. I mean, when we design new buildings also, we look at buildings which can have which is flexible and have a very long shelf life. So similarly, old buildings also can have a very long shelf life if we treat it in a manner like that. The earlier debate was talking about that in this thing. Then we talk about the cost of such a project. When we talk of cost, there are three kinds of cost to it. One is the financial cost, the second is the historical and cultural cost, and the third is the environmental cost. So if we look at the financial cost, today construction cost is more or less at the top, and it is only going to go higher and higher because of inflation. So a lot of times it so happens that we cannot, as architects, go to the end of a project and fulfill our vision because there are time overruns and there are cost overruns. So if we can save 10 to 15% to 30% of a building by retaining and being sympathetic to the existing structure, why not? I mean, it's a huge value to us. And in terms of the technology that we have today, in terms of scanning a building, in terms of analyzing it, in terms of constructing it, we have done two projects. One is currently ongoing and one we finished, where the use was the same of the building, but we added floors to a hospital. That hospital otherwise had to be completely demolished. A working hospital had to be completely demolished and redone. We added floors by strengthening the structure and putting another floor on top. We did so to another building, which was a residential building, where we put columns on either sides and we spanned the top of the building with Virindle girders. And we put a floor on top and just connected the staircase.
ADREESH, so time out.
So yeah, I'll pass on my mic to my teammate.
I told you that strict timekeeper. Yes, Riyaz. AAHANA? Okay. And your time starts now.
So very often we come across historical sites, and these sites have value and they have some significance in our environment. So the focus should be on enhancing this existing building without making extensive alterations. And this often involves restoring the facade of the building to maintain its value. And sometimes we find that the interiors of the building can be adaptive and changed to suit our purposes or our use. And this is generally called adaptive reuse. So while we can maintain the facade of the building, we can upgrade the interiors and sort of maintain it for our current use. So adaptive reuse also involves updating the systems of the building, such as the HVAC ducts, the electrical systems. You can even upgrade it for energy saving. And this may not necessarily detract from the historical character of the building. So by doing this, you can make the building functional, you can make it comfortable, and then it can be used in the modern contemporary setting. So this blend of the restoration and adaptive use, it's a sort of harmonious balance between the past and the present. And it respects the building's history, and it also allows us to use it as part of the community. So there is an entire field of preservation, and there are architects such as myself, who are, actively practicing, studying, learning more about it. And
30 seconds more.
It's become more and more ubiquitous within our community. And so preserving the integrity of such structures is paramount to maintaining the cultural value and integrity.
Thank you, AAHANA. That was dot on time. And Riyaz, now over to you.
So the basic objective of sustainability is to reduce consumption of non-renewable resources, minimize waste, and create healthy environment. This does not have anything to do with whether we are making something new or we are restoring anything. The idea is if humans were to devise product tools which can do furniture, homes, factories, or cities, where intelligently it can start and wouldn't need to think of in terms of waste and contamination and scarcity in the future. Currently, the only way to avoid environmental harm from waste is to prevent its generation. Pollution prevention means changing the way activities are conducted and eliminating the source of the problem. It does not mean doing without, but it means doing things differently. At our firm, design-related decisions are happening every day daily, impacting sustainability development or providing for needs of the future generations on Earth. We believe that good design would allow for abundance, endless reuse, and pleasure simultaneously.
Wow, that was great. Thank you, Innovation Insiders. Just to round up, Adreesh spoke about cost effectiveness of minimal intervention. AAHANA spoke about preserving original charm. And RIYAZ spoke about sustainable and eco-friendly approach. Okay, now we are going to start with the renovation rivals. And Amit, your time starts now.
Thank you, Pooja. And thank you, IDUC, for giving us this opportunity. Friends, let us picture a frame, okay? A painting which is already done, and then you have a canvas which is yet to be painted. Trust me, friends, what happens is that as a creative people from this genre, we always would like to have a fresh paint coming in. We would always want to advise that this is the right way of working on it. Now, why do we suggest that a renovation is important in a most comprehensive way? A, you can optimize the space better. B, as we all understand, that we need to adapt to the smart technology, which is, of course, energy efficient, and that is much more easily done in a proper renovated aspects. Coming to the overall look and feel of the space, you personally feel so satisfied because every aspect of design, detail, and the construction is well arranged, well organized, well optimized, and it can be planned, timed, as well as executed in its own regard. Personally speaking, let me tell you that I would not want to debate about what's going to happen. We'll have the debate later on. But as far as a renovation is concerned, after the space is done, the valuation of that property or that particular space yields much more than the one which was earlier. At the same time, let me also here emphasize on one aspect is that we as a generation need to understand that in today's world, where we are getting sustainable material, where we are getting sustainable way of doing practice, renovating comprehensively is the best solution to go ahead. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Amit. And next is Shashank. Your time starts now.
Hi, good evening, everybody. So I believe that through renovation, we don't just repair and replace, we also innovate and elevate. It's all about creating a space that reflects our evolving taste and lifestyle. On that note, I would like to talk about one of the projects that we did, maybe close to about a couple of years ago, when we stumbled upon this old property in one of the bylanes of Kolkata. And it was built around 1910. And I think the building changed a couple of hands. It was initially designed for a residence, then it became a primary school, after which it was abandoned for close to about 10 years. When we had the chance, we converted the entire space through extensive renovation into a modern day neighborhood cafe. Now, renovation doesn't really necessarily mean just upgrading the paint or the furniture, but I think we have to adapt to the modern times, adding the air conditioning to a lot of various services which has to go in to cater to a restaurant. Now, what lesson did we learn from this is, after 20 months of renovation, after close to about 2 years of completion of this project, it was initially destined to be demolished, and the builders had offered a certain price to it. Now, through this renovation, he's actually getting much more than what it was valued for. And consequently, there are a lot, because Calcutta is full of these old buildings, a lot of newer buildings, a lot of these old buildings are now started getting renovated, and there is a sudden surge in demand, and then the price point has drastically increased of that entire neighborhood. So it just shows that one project can actually elevate an entire neighborhood that way. So I believe, on that note, I would like to highlight some stats that according to the National Association of Realtors, 75% of the homeowners who renovate their houses repeatedly has a significant increase in their house marketability. So there you go. I think we believe renovation is the key. There you go.
All right, Shashank. One more sentence is okay.
Yeah? No, that's okay. Probably I'll conclude it at the later
All right, Shilpa, your time starts now.
Okay, I'm just going to stand because it's easier to see the audience and talk. I think I'm going to just touch on a little bit of the softer aspects. My team's spoken about the technical things. Change is painful, but nothing is more painful than being stuck where you don't belong. So why do we really design a space? Why do we as architects are here, designing buildings, designing interior spaces? We're trying to make a difference. We're trying to give an emotional impact to people's lives, even create, an emotion to your five senses. Now, if you're not able to do that by moving into a space, what is really the point of it? I mean, we may be trying to do minimal things because of maybe cost or time, but is it really worth if we did not achieve what we really intended to do? The reason that we really design is to probably either change your function, change your lifestyle, upgrade the space, maybe even upgrade the number of people who are going to be living in that space. So if you're not going to be able to do that physically, structurally, spatially, in terms of services and in terms of giving that aesthetic, then is it really worth the entire time, money, effort that we ended up putting into it? So I really feel like if we need to put in that kind of an effort, we need to do it with an entire whole and soul. So definitely 30 seconds still there, but I think we need to go for it all, the entire hog, and not just to save maybe time or money. Yes, I understand that if there is a conservational value to the space, you keep the structure intact and then do an entire modeling or a renovation. But everything else, you really need the whole hog.
Fantastic. Thank you, Shilpa. And just to sum up, the renovation rivals, Amit spoke about benefits of extensive renovation. Shashank spoke about increased property value after renovation, and Shilpa spoke about customization and personalization. Now here's what we are going to do. We are going to take a 2-minute break, not for tea, coffee, but for concluding within themselves what is a strong point they want to make as innovation insiders versus renovation rivals, and their time starts now. So while we are at this, we have to understand that the panel here, the debaters here are actually come from far and wide, and we are quite honored that they are sharing this dais today. I would like to just run through our speakers. Amit Porwal, the creative face behind Icon Projects, unfolds a design epic that began in the vibrant tapestry of Mumbai nearly 2 decades ago. Porwal has evolved into a luminary weaving masterpieces that transcend mere interiors, breathing life into spaces with an alchemical touch. Shashank SHAHABADI, Calcutta boy, EASTSIDE office is an architecture and interior design firm founded by him and based in Kolkata, known for its design solutions across a diverse range of projects. Founded in 2017 under the leadership of himself, the firm specializes in delivering bungalows, hospitality projects, apartments, villas, and office spaces. Shashank has a master's degree in architecture and has keen interest in history, arts, products, and furniture. Shilpa Balvally, graduating from Academy of Architecture, Mumbai in 2001, Shilpa pursued masters in architecture and further specialized in healthcare designs and systems at Texas A&M University and worked internationally for 4 years. And in Innovation Insiders, let me have the honor of introducing ADREESH Chakraborty. He's an award-winning architect, interior designer, furniture and product designer. His works have been published by major publication houses and journals across India and internationally. After a decade of founding and heading a well-organized architecture firm, ADREESH moved on to create the Earth Home Design Studio with his partner, Ina Basur. And we have in Innovation Insiders, AAHANA Miller from Mumbai. She completed her master's degree of architecture at the University of Pennsylvania with a minor in historic preservation. This complemented her Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Interior Architecture from Rhode Island School of Design with focused on adaptive reuse. And lastly, we have RIYAZ HIMANY, with over 25 years of experience across Asia and US Design Circus was founded by RIYAZ HIMANY in 2018 to have an integrated practice from interiors to products and graphics for hospitality and residential sectors. That's the panel for you, ladies and gentlemen. Can we have a huge round of applause once again for them? And now we have the stage. Thank you. I also had a timer. I didn't know that. Udit, I didn't tell you to do that. Anyway, coming back, we have 2 minutes for the conclusion of from Innovation Insiders and 2 minutes from Renovation Rivals, and we have to be even more stricter this time, Udit. Your time starts now.
Well, it might be a very grand vision to prove and leave your legacy of design on the planet, but today we are faced with an existential threat of sustainability, of climate changing, are all around us. So 30% of the world's energy resources are used in the construction industry, out of which 80% is still running on fossil fuels. Concrete is not recyclable. Steel is recyclable to a certain extent. So if you put any of these parameters together, we cannot build new things going forward. So we have to change our thought process towards reusing old stuff as we go ahead. Till the time the concrete, which is the oil of our industry, changes, we actually have to look and use our creativity towards using all the resources that we have and all the buildings that we have as something that can be reused and adapted. Secondly, I would talk about modernism as an architectural canon that started about 150 years ago. And modernism had this big idea thing where every architect kind of has to make an iconic building, and and there are so many iconic buildings across the world that everything looks beige now. You go to South Africa and you go to China, they all look the same. There's no characteristic. So rather than having you are leaving a legacy behind you of an iconic building, I think the legacy should be to fade back to the background and make sure that whatever is there on the planet, we preserve it, we have it there, and we reuse our uses and our infrastructure that we have to create a future that is actually sustainable for us and the world.
Great. Renovation Rivals, your time starts now, and your speaker is Amit.
All right, thank you, ADREESH. Now let us come to the first point, which I believe is that when you're talking about these heritage buildings, there are how many percentage of really heritage buildings now? Number one. Number two, all these structures, most of them are dilapidated. And how much are you really going to put in your resources and your energy to basically restructure? Now, when you talk that, when you are trying to save a building with a minimal invasion, let me tell you, the cost is not even properly measured. The thinking process, the energy which goes in trying to understand that how can we just try to salvage and safeguard a particular structure. Third is that when you're talking about the concrete or the steel, let me tell you there are many ways now with newer technology, better way of working, that you can sustain a good building, a good project in a certain aspect of the cost. As far as we Indians are a little sentimental, okay? We are so emotionally attached to what I feel is that we want to reserve. I appreciate the fact that every such structure can be reserved. Just make a nice boundary, lit it well, and let people go and observe it. But when it comes to actually trying to make a project out of it, where you have to optimize your space, where you have to optimize your technology, where you have to optimize the public use, you need to understand that it gets very easy if you just go with the revamp and redo it and restructure it. Moreover, let me tell you, the emphasis is about what are we trying to do? What are we trying to salvage? We are trying to salvage our pride, appreciate that. But please understand, with the newer technology, and as you rightly said that probably the new buildings, what you see, probably have the same kind of look, but let us understand. The entire world finally is called as a monotone now, okay? And trust me, the monotone is what will survive to the next extent. And just let me make one last point.
No, your time is out, sorry. All right, now here's what we're going to do.
That ADREESH ne thoda ek bola.
Each team has made their point, Innovation Insiders as well as
Difficult
Renovation
moderator
Rivals.
we have.
And sorry?
Difficult moderator we have.
Yeah, sorry. Now, I want to ask the audience, what do you think the approach to any design, portfolio should be? Should it be minimal intervention versus extensive renovation. Anybody from the audience would like to speak? Can we give them a mic, please? Nobody? All right. Minimal intervention versus extensive renovation. How do we decide the approach? And
Also,
what
can I-
approach is the right approach?
Can I just add a point though, that this is not limited only to heritage buildings. It is to buildings and interiors all across the board.
You mean the renovation is not
No,
related?
no, the entire topic that we are
Oh,
talking
yes,
about.
of course. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
so it's
yes.
not
I have
only
a very
limited to buildings
interesting
that have
question.
character and heritage value,
I
but
believe,
everything that is built.
I believe majority of the people on the dais are interior designers also. We have USGBC, IGBC, Griha, Terry, etc. for architecture. Why is that there is no such kind of code when it comes to designing homes? Because I have never seen a sustainable interior home. The use of marble, the use of granite, the kind of paints that
Yeah,
go in.
that's true. Yeah.
The ply, everything.
Yeah.
I think the maximum AQI damage is done by interior home when there's cutting of marble, grinding of marble, but there is zero control
That's the start of
policy.
another debate, you know.
So
I-
why is there
I-
no policy? Why is there nothing being audited? There's no kind of renovation. I mean, there's no system to monitor that. Why is that? And I'm sure I've
Yeah,
seen a
I
lot of
think
luxury
sustainability in interiors is quite a myth. Anybody would like to take that? With no team
And
bars.
I haven't seen one home which is sustainable interior. Everyone puts in the maximum amazing Italian products, bringing in from cargo, bringing them from abroad.
No,
And
there
the
are
carbon
sustainable
footprint on
homes.
homes is
There are
massive.
sustainable homes.
I think one in
there.
thousand. One in thousand.
I would like
The green pro
But I believe one of the
materials are there.
sponsors today is Premium Ka Papa, so don't worry, we will try to adapt to them.
You should.
No, green
It's made in
pro-
India.
No, but sustainability in
pro
interiors
materials
is
are
a
there.
myth.
Green pro materials have come in.
I can get you that certificate in 15 days. Next.
I just want to add something to your point. I
That
think
is the
as-
material, ma'am. That is the material, not the process. That's
Pooja,
the
I
material.
just want to let you know 5 minutes are over.
And also coming to minimalism, what innovative insiders talked about, I think, is it not about that with least intervention, we are able to retain the intrinsic character of the structure? You see, the impunity, I talked about it in the previous panel, but nobody answered it. Fact remains that the shabbiness with which architecture in public realm is happening in India, it's absolutely shameful. I think a very, very minimalistic approach with which you can retain an old structure. The carbon footprint, again, if you demolish it and rebuild it, is much, much higher. So I think there needs to be a pronounced sensitivity towards it. Adish.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And if we look at Calcutta, say, for example, I grew up in Calcutta. I did my schooling here. And I saw all the old buildings that were, some of them were getting demolished, some of them were getting renovated. Calcutta, a lot of these buildings have structural steel inside it that came directly from the UK at that point of time. And that steel is still great. It's like the Howrah Bridge steel with the HMS mark on it. And this is what we are discussing
And
today.
I think the government is miserably failing. The government is miserably failing to repurpose the building.
Absolutely.
there's-
Adaptive reuse, what she was
Yeah,
talking
there is such a young gen which is wanting to experiment. They have to fight to get a space.
Absolutely.
Commercial real estate is so expensive. I mean, do something in which you are able to have a much higher public engagement and
Absolutely.
you are able to draw traffic, drive traffic and earn revenue out of it.
Absolutely. I saw this project in Brazil in this place called Curitiba, which is really known for redevelopment. And they had this old, like a British railway station, which is one of the relics because Brazil is more Portuguese than British. And they actually built an entire shopping complex around it. And somebody was talking about terrace rides. So this was like a huge shopping complex. And inside the atrium was the railway station with the tracks. And, the whole thing is retained, the whole thing is there, and there's the platform is supposed that side, and, there become little shops. And it's amazing to see how that project in the middle of a city, because the city grew, and the project is in the middle of a city, and how that was, redeveloped and reused and put into the urban fabric. And, you know, I mean, I thought it was a fantastic example of how
And
adaptive
Pooja,
use can be done.
And Pooja, this is for you because you see, this is one city which is you know so fabulous. I mean, we have got such great structures here.
I agree. I love it.
I think if you know the way it, maybe few decades, I mean, this legacy is eventually getting destroyed, and there's no taker for it.
No, I wouldn't agree to that if you're asking me a question. I think with sensible interior designers, when you're given a site, you do want to sort of hear the story of the site, and having had the good fortune of doing a few renovation projects, I have taken an approach of withdrawal, which is sorry, but you get the points, that, you know, minimal intervention does bring out the beauty of this beautiful city. I just love the colonial buildings and all of that Dalhousie area. So, yeah, I do agree to the point that, you know, if you're sensitive to the response of the site, then you can come up with some great stuff. And having done that, I do agree
Yeah,
to...
they can be beautifully lit. They can be art districts.
And
they
in
can
interiors,
they can be
just to answer
promenades.
your point,
Yeah.
Dhaval, that, you know, in interiors, yes, in homes, sustainability is actually a myth, but when given out for commercial projects, you can really touch base upon that. Having said that, yes, 1 in thousands though, but there are homes which are sustainable. There are buildings like bungalows which are completely sustainable. Now, with all this discussion, what I understand is Innovation Insiders have 1 point extra.
No,
Is
no,
there
I-
anybody
no, no,
who
I have
want
one-
to
no, no,
support?
The panelists
Ren-
are
question
very
for
sweet.
innovation.
They're not
Sorry?
fighting.
One question
Make
for
it a draw.
Innovation Insiders. Do you think you'll
Let
get
them join
paid?
winners.
You think you'll get paid if you are doing minimal or invasive
Depends.
interior designing on a
depends.
home? You think the clientele in India is going to be like, Acha,
I-
listen, you are going to get paid the same amount of the renovation
Dhaval,
that a maximum guy is going to
I
do?
wanna,
It depends
I wanna
on
add
creativity
a
and salesmanship.
point here.
Creativity and
add a point
salesmanship. How are you selling it? Number one, sorry.
I have a client
No,
over
you
here.
got your point.
I have asked them.
And
No,
by the
I
way,
just
the
wanna give
loudest
an
person wins. Yeah.
I just want to give an example here. We did a home a few years ago. You know, a lot of the buildings now are being given as builder finish homes, right? And there is a certain quality, but obviously the builder has put in the material, a lot of the stuff is done. Sometimes the clients come and say, why should we destroy everything? Great, I think it's a brilliant idea, right? Why should you redo everything and then bare shell it again? We did the house with most minimally,
Oh,
you
yes,
know,
that's a good point. Yes.
intervention.
Till what, 5 years
what
back was
happened-
happening?
What
Yes.
happened after 3
Yes.
years?
Yes.
There were cracks, drywall construction wasn't working, the frames were breaking, the switchboards did not work. These were all points that we had brought to notice at that point, that these will be the things that will
And
be
action
an
has
issue.
been taken.
What happened
That's a
later?
very good point,
More
yes.
cost, more time, inconvenience to the user. So it's easier said than done when you say minimal intervention always brings better quality, better energy efficiency. It actually may not. It's a very case-to-case thing. Yes, something with a heritage value, I would completely keep it aside. But how many buildings in Mumbai, if I keep aside maybe South Bombay and certain areas, are really of character in many other ways? So if I am going to try and, you know, keep up that particular space where there is not enough light ventilation, where there is not enough MEP, you do need AC now in Bombay, unfortunately.
But Shilpa, in case
I'll
you are
just take
doing
your point,
Shilpa,
sorry.
in case you are doing renovation in a building, how do you integrate elements of biophilic urbanism?
Okay. Now, just want to give you one example which happened, of course, few years back, was the Victoria Terminus building. Okay. Now, what happened with that building, that when it was designed and then when the population of Mumbai grew, okay, we realized, because at that one point of time, I don't know how many of people have you traveled during those days when there was a platform only on one side. Okay. So the whole idea was to conserve the structure and redo the entire working. Now let me tell you, there is an article in the paper and you can all Google and check. The conservation cost vis-a-vis the functional aspect of that thing was really, it had taken a huge toll on the corporation, the cost which went with. Fair enough, the structure is still there. But apparently, let me tell you, to date, just because we wanted to retain that structure, just imagine the apathy of the daily commuters, where we could have doubled it up at the same time, considering what is
I
Mumbai's.
mean
Please let
that
me complete
has-
my point.
No,
Please let me
bring you
complete
to
my
the
point.
first point where we said
Please
the
let me
frame of the
complete my point.
frame of the context is that
Yes.
we are talking about buildings which are worthy of saving, number one, and number two, their reuse is similar to the size. So the intent of the FAR, if the use drastically changes, suppose you have an airport and you have twice the amount of a number of passengers you're catering to. Of course, that same airport cannot handle that. It's not possible. So you make a new airport.
Yeah, but
so
the
we
thing
are
is-
talking about that frame of context. So this discussion cannot be taken forward to a point where
Adreesh, I'm
we are
just trying
completely.
to state a point.
Yeah.
We are pro-renovation. We are not pro-demolition. Okay. So coming to that fact, where Calcutta is full of these colonial, beautiful age buildings, we completely respect that. We want to have a sense of culture and history within our paramount, because if we erase what is there at the back, we don't know where we are coming from. Coming to the change of use, right? So like I spoke about, like the building can survive, but the usage can change from
The
time to
usage
time.
requires to change,
In
absolutely.
most of these buildings are 100 years old. Let's say electricity was just coming in, their air conditioning happening.
Use has to change.
Then you have internet coming in. But we have to adapt to the modern times and make use of for these
Absolutely.
services.
Totally
So
point
hence,
taken.
extensive renovation is required. What you are trying to say is, what if we just do minimal intervention to these spaces and not renovating it? Then the question of sustainability arises, because the cost of just maintaining the buildings, there's a commercial angle to it, that the commercial value or whatever activity is taking place
If it is
determines
not
where the
commercially
building
viable,
will survive.
If it is not commercially viable, nobody will put money on the project. Number one. So
Right.
it has
So-
somebody who's putting in money on the project would
Anybody
know.
from the audience who wants to interrupt, like I just interrupted
like
him,
to
is free to
I
do
just
so.
wanted to say
and as
one
I
point-
said,
one
the
thing,
loudest
one thing.
person wins.
1 minute.
All right.
1 minute. Can I have 1 minute?
Yes.
Over.
Yes.
I think charity begins at home.
Good
Okay.
one, sir.
Now, I live in a 150 years old house. But this is I'm the 6th generation living over there. That's located within a narrow lane. Just my car can enter straight into the garage. Now, I have an annual spending on that home with minimal intervention, because my socioeconomic status does not permit me to invest more than that. I was told for last couple of decades that if you had purchased 2-3 flats with these flats, but I wanted to keep my heritage all along. And still now I'm entering the house, although something is still need to be repaired immediately. Water is pouring down, even yesterday night. Now, first of all, let us talk about the everything, come into the home. Can we maintain a 150-year-old? I'm very sure about it. My son is going to quit it.
Oh
It
my.
is so obvious. First of all, you will have to understand what we are trying to maintain, a colonial structures which have a different socioeconomic status at that point of time. Having a closed family of many people, like the Jamindar house. I'll take an example of the house of Rani Rashmoni, who has created Dakshineshwar temple. Now, if you travel along POOJA, you know pretty well on St. Balaji Road, the place is called Jan Bazar. And everything after the defragmentation of the family, it became so, the heritage structure is now infested with a number of shops of masala,
Yeah.
along with photo frames.
Yeah.
And one and above, when the family was fragmented, the entire structure has become so that everybody's created a separate kitchen. Otherwise, it was a common kitchen at that point of time, when there was 200 people maybe eating from the family itself, apart
Right.
from the outsiders.
Right. Right.
Now,
I think the
you
state-
have to understand the socio-economic condition of everything. What Bath can afford to do, what Netherlands can afford to do. I've seen in Berlin how they have developed a whole thing. But how many people goes to a museum in Calcutta? If you wanted to create a government, you're blaming government is not running with your money only, taxpayers' money, and hardly people pays tax. That's a different scenario. I mean, hardly people means very few of us pay taxes on which the government runs. They are collecting some taxes, but our government doesn't have that infrastructure to maintain the level, be it local, be it central, be it regional. So I think for keeping the public buildings and public places which are, you have to rope all your multi-billionaires of this country who are running 80 to 100 people a part of their CSR. Try to do it.
See, sir, they will
I would
not
like
do
to
a
say
CSR.
something
Why would
where-
they do a CSR?
No, they will do some CSR, give them some job. Give them some incentives for that.
No, today Amit sir mentioned about the Victoria terminals. I think I was just having a chat with Saurabh and he mentioned that that's been taken over by Tata, right? It's been maintained by the Tata group, the Victoria terminals.
Okay, I have a point to add, I'm sorry. If I may. I believe this
I think it
entire
can be
debate-
a public-private partnership. Sorry.
I'm sorry,
I'll
I'll
take
just have a
cues
point
from
to
the
add.
previous panelists that we were talking about, that oil might get finished, steel might get finished. I think the last drop of oil will be so expensive to extract that oil will never be finished. And same goes for all the materials. I think as we are progressing with the decrease in, let's say, with the lesser supply, I think the prices will escalate. We will find
You will not
innovative
reach that
ways
point of
to
burning the
renovate.
whole oil because
Like the
you would have
plastic?
polluted the earth before
Yeah,
that.
so we will constantly thrive and probably figure out newer
But
ways to
Shashank,
probably
I have a
renovate.
question. See,
Yes.
if you are doing a renovation, how about using smart materials?
Of course.
Why should
Of
why
course.
should
Yes.
That is exactly the idea, that you use smart technology, you use
smart technology,
materials.
frugal engineering, and then repurpose the building?
All right, in the view of this timeout, now nobody gets to talk, only I can conclude. And the conclusion is, I don't know how many of us paid attention that the topic is minimal intervention and extensive renovation. Okay, now here's a different point of view. Some may agree, some may disagree, but that's what debates are all about. Remove the word minimal, remove the word maximum, okay? And just keep intervention and renovation. In my knowledge, when you're intervening with interiors or an architectural project, you are kind of already renovating it and vice versa, okay? So what do you think can be the conclusion of today's debate? Yes?
I have a point.
Balance.
I can give a
Thank you.
I can give a
Balance.
really good example. There is a building in Mumbai, which is a heritage structure at the Horniman Circle, right opposite, I think it's an Indian Railway building, right? And that building has been gutted right from the center. Only the facade wall is standing. And I think it's right opposite Hafiz sir's office. And that entire structure has been converted into a mall now. It is a partnership. It was a Shapurji Palanji group company. Now Aditya Birla is doing it. So I feel, as Adreesh rightly mentioned, that you're still reserving the building heritage.
True.
You are kind of making it
That's
a commercial.
exactly the middle path
you're
I'm
making
talking
a
about.
commercially viable.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that place is going to be a disaster because there is no parking for a mall.
Okay, that
And
can
similarly,
So
similarly,
there is
an
no
example,
parking. So
yeah.
again, we fail on the infra side over there because in Horniman Circle, you can't park more than 50 cars and they've made a beautiful 2 malls have been made now. So that's going to be a disaster again.
And
So
similarly, one
it has to
example
be a
from
good
Delhi
partnership.
also.
Building
One
has
example from
survived,
Delhi, that is Bikaner House.
Yeah.
Bikaner House has been repurposed so beautifully.
So beautifully. yes.
There is a Chor Bazaar there. There is something called as Diggins, that chain that runs so profitably. And there's also that complete structure, part has been converted into
Yeah.
an art
And some
museum.
iconic events happen
And-
there.
and
Yes,
iconic events
yes,
happen there.
Yes,
And
yes.
Dhan Mill.
Sorry?
Dhan Mill. along
Dhanmil.
with-
Dhanmil,
Exactly. Oh, Dhanmil
It's such a
Although there are
commercially
some parts
viable
of
project.
Dhanmil I wouldn't agree to.
So
but
I want to make a point here, Mohit, that we are also sort of now, the points that you made, we are also kind of seeing that it is probably easier to do this when you have people backing it and when it is a public space affecting the society, right? But when it is a private space for somebody, a private home or a private building, and I or you or the client has to pay the cost.
Shilpa, I like
He
to
has
answer that also.
consider a
Shilpa,
lot of
All right.
aspects.
Shilpa, I can talk about a city. Entire Havelis in Shekhawati region are languishing.
Absolutely.
You're further emphasizing on our point. Like all these projects have further gone into extensive renovation because
Exactly.
it has stood the test of time as well as the purpose of it has changed. Be it the dhan mills you're talking about.
But it has been an intervention of someone
Any
and
project
some
will need
material.
intervention.
So the conclusion is
Sirf paisa
that
chahiye,
we
conclusion.
always have a middle path. It's intervention
Sirf paisa
and
chahiye.
renovation going hand in hand. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the debate for you. And please, can I have my speakers up and a big round of applause for all of them. Thank you for listening so patiently, and over to you.
I wanna just add a very small thing. No.
Shilpa,
So
the
this is a
debate.
real example that I'm dealing with. My son's school comes under a heritage grade building in Bombay, and because it is under that, they couldn't obviously do too much to the structure. They had to keep this. The students are going through double shift. The parents are probably going to pay 3 times the fees for the next 5-7 years. A lot of things are happening. So everything comes at a cost, money to maintain it also.
But
so
I
you
would
need
call
the
it-
balance is what you said.
But I would call
It's
it.
always-
But I will call it a strategic investment, even if it comes under a public-private partnership. It is a strategic investment because eventually it is the heritage of the country.
Thank you everyone for a great interaction and a great evening. Thank you to the organizers for this opportunity and platform, and over to you. Thank you.